One time for the coast. Light one, nigga smoke. Shoot guns, never joke. Ay, 4 time on the road.
What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Anthony, and we're back here again. You know, we got another hair video. So today we're gonna be starting a little series. Recently, a lot of you guys like on Instagram, and if you haven't followed my Instagram, follow my Instagram at RoyTV. I'm getting a lot of feedback and a lot of questions on like how to dread hair. It's like how to dread different textures of hair. So I decided to make a little series, basically tell you guys how to be dreading different textures of hair. Straight hair, coarse hair, wavy hair, curly hair. There's a whole bunch of different types of textures of hair, and it seems like a lot of you guys want to dread it. So I'm gonna be creating a little series on how to dread your hair. On the first one, we're gonna be talking about the hair texture that I'm most familiar with and that I know the most about because I have it, and that is Afro textured hair. When I'm talking about hair, I'm not really gonna be talking about like, you know, the specific hair texture like 2C and BA. I'm not really familiar with that. I know I could just bring up a chart, but like I'm not really familiar with the specific texture names, like general information for other hair textures, basically. But yeah, today we're gonna be talking about Afro textured hair, and yeah, that's the hair texture I got. Like if I didn't have dreads, my hair would be an Afro. African American or people from African descent have this textured hair. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's that spongy kind of black people hair, basically. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's black people hair. That coarse, kinky, super, you know what I'm saying? Black people aren't the only people that have this hair. I know that, like, maybe some Colombians or, shoot, I got a homeboy that's Mexican that has this texture hair. Honestly, there's a bunch of different ways you could dread this texture or type of hair, but I'm gonna just be talking about the 3 like main ways. Okay, so the first method we're gonna talk about is sponge method. And yes, I still got my old sponge. And this method, they call it the sponge method, and you can also use a towel, like a regular towel. Just towel rub your shit. This is how I started off my dreads. But the thing about this method is that like you can't do this method forever. The longer your hair gets when you're using this method, the more, cause with this method it's not like, it's just starting off the dreads, but it's really like mimicking how dreads look, cause they're not really like tight. They're not like tight. It makes your hair like mimic the twisty style until your dreads lock. You get what I'm saying? But you can ultimately use this method to start out dreads. It's just gonna take a little bit longer for them to start budding up and lock. Also use gel with this method. There's like a couple different ways you can use this method, but use what works out for your hair. Like if you got hair and you don't really need to use the locking gel, then don't. But with this, your dreads will probably come out looking more like ethnic or like Rasta looking type. They won't be like all the same sizes. And they might be like, yeah, just more Rasta looking. But as I said earlier, it does take a while for your dreads to fully lock when you're using this method. Like my dreads, I wouldn't call this fully locked. I would call this like maybe 80% of the way locked. But on to the next one. This method I'm about to talk about is the method I use right now. It works pretty good. I feel like it's, if not the most common, then definitely one of the most common ways people use to dread Afro textured hair, and that's twisting with gel. And that method works really good, especially if you got a loctician that knows what she's doing and get her parts really good. You're gonna be gravy, man. The only downside I see to that method is that like it looks weird at first. You know what I'm saying? You got all these little beads in your head and shit. You can obviously get around with that. Like if you watch my other video, how to deal with the ugly stage, you can definitely get around with that, or get around that. The outcome is just great. It's phenomenal. All your dreads are gonna be the same size. They're not gonna be frizzy or whatever. Like once they mature, And yeah, they're just gonna look great. They're gonna look beautiful. Or the couple things you need to know when you're using this method for Afro texture hair is that like the product you use really does matter. Cantu shit, I was using that for probably like a month. Or like not a month, but like 2 retwists maybe. The outcome was just terrible, man. Like my dreads were just like frizzy. Which I know they get frizzy, but like they were just like way too frizzy, and then they didn't even water down twisting gel. It sucked. But I started using this. You know, went back to my Jamaica Mangan line. But I say all that to say this: the quality product you use matters, man. That is gonna affect your dreads, man. And I know it sounds kind of like common sense, but it's just a mistake I made, and I feel like a topic I need to touch on. Like the product you use when you're using the twisting with gel method, you have to use quality product, or your dreads are not gonna come out looking how you want them to. Yep, that's basically all I got for that method. We're gonna start going on to the last method, which I don't know how I feel about this method. And it's the freeform method. It takes a while for your hair to like even lock and just be different. You just don't do nothing to your hair and your hair just starts locking, and as the years go on, your hair and your mane will just grow. And I think that's the most natural way to get your dreadlocks if you like really want to go natural and like Rastafari. And that's the best way to go, is to use the freeform method. Works great with Afro texture hair. Like with our hair, our hair will just start dreading up automatically, man. Like if we don't do nothing to it, our hair will just start dreading up automatically. It's just natural. If you want freeform dreads, then just don't do nothing to your hair. Wash it regularly and let it dread up. Now your dread's gonna take some years to develop, mature, and start hanging, but if you got that type of patience, man, then hey, go for it. Using these methods, like you can use more than one method. Like when I started my dreads, I started using the sponge method, but then I went to the twisting with gel method. Like you can use more than one method. Just don't, if you're gonna use one method to dread your hair, then use that one method and stick with it until, but if you're gonna switch, then stick with that one. Don't keep like switching up, because your hair, it's not used to that, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're first starting to dread your hair has to get used to being dreads. You know what I'm saying? So like just use one method, and then when you see that method not working no more, try a different one if you have to. Like don't try a different one if the method you're using is already working. You know what I'm saying? But like, for example, with the sponge method, how I say you can't use it forever, that's an example of when you would have to start using a different method. You know what I'm saying? Like I did. And you can see that my dreads, they look cool. I would say out of 1 out of 10, they're like a, man, fuck it. They're a 10. Fuck you mean. My dreads look cool. We're gonna be having more videos like this next weekend. I know I always say next weekend, but you know, at some point next week, cause shit, nigga got a life too. But yeah, we're gonna start this little series, and yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. So catch you in the next video. Stay up.